This is the Avengers theme, and hopefully you know why I'm playing this to start my show today. If you don't, it is because one of the grand architects of the Marvel Comics universe, Stan Lee, passed away this week at the age of 95. I'll be talking about that today on this episode of Dylan Knows. But first off, I need to say thank you to Sir Patrick, who's probably watching right now, for reminding me to send the link. I had already started the show live and was running it, and I had no viewers. I was like, oh, well, I guess he's not going to watch it. And just kept talking, and then all of a sudden I saw his tweet say, hey, there's no link. And so I was like, oops. So I stopped the show and restarted it and sent the link out, and I got him. So anyone else out there who wants to watch it, please come watch. I am going live now. I know it's a little later than I was hoping to, but you know what? That's okay. Anyway, I hope you like my different perspective today. I decided I'm going to do something a little different today. Dawn is out with Sesame Squirrel, friend of ours from the Snark Alex, and my son Noah. They are presently swimming at Sesame Squirrel's hotel or apartment. No, hotel. Yes. Bye-bye. And my daughter is at a sleepover for her best friend's birthday party. So I've got the house to myself except for the Jinxie kitty. So and Mandy just wrote, well, my bathtub is awesome. That's because Mandy just got a new house. So congratulations to Mandy for getting a new house. Also, Scott, one of our regular viewers here on the show, is not watching today because he is in Las Vegas watching Cher. And news that he just proposed to his boyfriend, Luke, and they are happy. And they said yes, and all's good in the world of Snark Alex. So, hey. That's why I have the house to myself except for the cat. And I decided, it was cold down the basement, so I figured, I'll just go ahead and I figured it's too cold down the basement, so I get kind of sit up here where it's a little bit warmer and try a different perspective. Got my lights in the back. My Christmas stuff goes up 1 week from tomorrow, actually, or yesterday rather. Black Friday is usually when I get the Christmas ornament decorations up. My neighbors already have their Christmas stuff up, and I'm just trying to at least to put my phone. There we go. Anyway, I gotta get that out of here. Here we go. Anyway, this is my show, Dylan Knows. I've talked enough now. I've talked for 2 minutes about absolutely nothing, but we're used to that, aren't you? This week, we've got a whole lot of interesting stuff. Most importantly, I will be eulogizing Stan Lee a little later down the line. Not that I knew him that well, but at least I'll tell everyone my viewpoint of Stan and my appreciation for his talents. We're also going to take a look at some movie trailers that came out this week. One really surprising one that I actually really, really like a lot, and one that's pretty good too. And we'll see. We got the MAGA building blocks. We can talk about that as well. Up there with Trumpy Bear, we got with more holiday gift ideas for everybody. Dodge bow, cleavage for days, raccoons getting drunk, a 3-year-old girl who would rather play Batman than an angel, an octopus that has some very interesting habits, which leads me to continue my conspiracy theory that the animals are getting ready to take over the world, is starting to show more and more like it's going to happen. Sour Patch Kids cereal, a $50,000 assault rifle gets stolen, a movie by the name of Cowgirls versus Pterodactyls. Spike Lee dies at the age of 95. We'll cover what that means. Pentagon gets audited. And you probably just heard the story popped up today, the Danny DeVito college bathroom shrine. So we got some interesting stuff coming up in today's episode. So let's move right on ahead. First up, I have to announce that today, November 17th, this will not be on the holiday list, unfortunately. Or maybe it will be. It might be. I'll have to double check that when I run that. But today, November 17th, 40 years ago today, on this date, was the first occurrence of the fantastic holiday Life Day as the Star Wars holiday special aired on this day 40 years ago, and it has never aired since. You can probably catch it on YouTube. And I do kind of remember watching it, actually. It was, for those who don't know what the Star Wars Christmas show was, is after Star Wars came out in 1977 and was a huge hit, they decided to make a Christmas special, and they aired it on live TV, and it is considered to be one of the absolute worst TV specials you've ever seen. But it was Star Wars, and you got everybody, because remember back then, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill were all still relatively unknown. And so you got them all onto a TV show and brought about all that kind of stuff. That's right. The animals are going to take over the world, Patrick, and I'm going to tell you why in a few minutes. But first, let's talk trailers. Oh, this is tasty. Trailers. Let's see. How many trailers came out this week that I want to talk about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? 5. Yep, 5 trailers came out this week. I'm not going to do them in any order or whatever like that. So I'm just going to go with the first one. They did the first teaser trailer for Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 will be opening actually the day after my birthday next year, June 21st, 2019. Toy Story 4 will be opening. It'll be Pixar's summer movie. It is the final Toy Story movie in the series. And there was just they revealed 2 teasers. I didn't really watch the second one all that closely, but this one that I saw, as again, was just a teaser where it had all your fan favorite Toy Story fans jumping up together and being happy in a circle. And then you get Spoonie. I think his name is Spoonie, which is going to be, I guess, kind of the basis of the new story. A toy made in art class at school out of a spoon. And of course, it being a toy now, it is sentient as well. But the thing is, it wants to be a spoon and not a toy. So that could be one of the conflicts coming up. So again, it was a teaser trailer. It didn't really show, it showed some new characters and didn't really show much about what's going to happen in the story. I just got the Spoonie story from one of the write-ups about it. And then there was, as I said, there was another teaser trailer with some other new characters as well. So there's going to be some new characters. And from what both Tom Hanks and what is his name? And Buzz Lightyear, I forget. I can't believe my mind is such a blank right now. They said that it is one of the most heart-wrenching, tear-jerking endings to a movie you've ever seen. So that should be a pretty interesting thing as well. Tim Allen, thank you. I just remembered it. Tim Allen. I had to think of the Santa Claus for that. Anyway, they all said it was going to be crazy. Next year also, Tim Burton will be doing a live-action version of Dumbo. They've done one trailer for it already. That was also kind of a teaser trailer to get a little bit of an idea of what you were going to be seeing. This one expanded the story a little bit. It's going to pretty much follow the same Dumbo story, but it's going to make a little bit of some changes here and there. Yes, thank you. Patrick Smith just posted the trailer link on YouTube if you want to check that out. This one showed a little bit more about it, and I've always been a Tim Burton fan. I've thought he's lost his way a little bit over the last few years, and I'm hoping he gets back into it. But he was one of the guys that started this whole live-action fairy tale animated movie fair into live-action films when he did Alice in Wonderland, and that was a humongous success that has been kind of the basis of Tim Burton's career. He starts off with a bunch of huge hits. Excuse me. Has a couple of rough box office bombs, gets a couple really big hits again, and then sort of goes onto like an even keel for a while. When he went through his Johnny Depp phase, it was up and down, but kind of steady. And then Alice in Wonderland just skyrocketed, and then he went back down again. But he sort of has come back recently with the one movie that came out. He directed the Miss Peregrine's the Miss Peregrine film from a couple years ago. He filmed that. They made some good money. And now Dumbo is probably going to make some good money because the live action, I think there's a total of 4 live action Disney movies coming out next year. I think there's Dumbo, Aladdin, The Lion King, No, and only three. It's only those three live action ones, and then Frozen 2 is coming out next year also, and Toy Story 4, and Avengers 4, and Spider-Man. So Disney really huge hits probably coming up next year. But the Dumbo trailer gave us a little bit better view of what is going to be happening, and we get the idea. We get to see that Michael Keaton appears to be playing the bad guy, so it's going to be kind of fun to see Michael Keaton working with Tim Burton again. And Michael's got kind of this weird accent going on in this film, but you get to see a little bit more of him. Danny DeVito again plays a ringleader for a circus. But he's, I don't think he's a bad person. He's a good person. Colin Farrell is like the good lead, good guy. But again, it looks like it's going to focus on Colin Farrell's two kids, I think. And they're trying to get Dumbo. And we see some Dumbo action flying around, and we get to see the mouse with the top hat on and a bunch of other stuff. So it looks good. I think I want to go see it. Just because I want to see Tim Burton and Michael Keaton again. They haven't done a movie since Batman Returns. And I kind of want to see them together again because I love Michael Keaton and I love Tim Burton. So that one could be an interesting one as well. Where is it? There it is. And then I wasn't going to take a look at this one, but I just had to. Leprechaun's coming back, and it's actually in a movie called Leprechaun Returns. The trailer was released this week as well. And it doesn't appear to be as bad as some of the other Leprechaun movies have been. This looks to be a bit more maybe of a reboot, a retooling of Leprechaun to make it a little more scary, but at the same time is making it just as goofy. Because in this case, I guess you want to call them millennials, I suppose, people right out of school, buy a house in the middle of nowhere and decide to turn it into, solar power and live off the grid and make their own food and stuff like that. It's a bunch of kids who go around and they do stuff, helping people around the world. And so now they're doing this, and they stumble upon this well where the leprechaun was buried, and he gets released out. And so he still wants his gold. And so, he shows up, and all these teens die in strange and bizarre ways with him connected. And you have him do his little jigs. A lot of them take selfies with the leprechaun. So it's one of these like self-deprecating sort of parody type things of like almost like a Scream-esque version of Leprechaun. And the heroine is a bit more straightforward and kick-ass and smacking around leprechauns. And then you get all these little leprechauns pop out and start, attacking them, sort of similar to, I guess, like the Deadites, I guess, and Evil Dead, with all the little guys that come around. So there's going to be all these little leprechauns as well. So it looks entertaining. It looks like it's going to be a little more gruesome, but at the same time, it doesn't look like it's Leprechaun in the Hood or Leprechaun in Space-esque type of bad. This looks more like getting it back down to earth a little bit and getting back to the horror roots. But there seems to be an edge of comedy in it as well, as a movie called Leprechaun should have. Finally, and I had to save the best for last because this was my absolute favorite trailer this week. Most you can probably figure out what it is. Detective Pikachu, the live-action Pokemon movie that everyone's been asking for, well, the Pokemon fans anyway, this time has Pikachu being voiced by Ryan Reynolds. That's right, Deadpool is going to be voicing Pikachu. And we get to see a lot of live-action versions of Pokemons that we go after in Pokemon Go, like Psyduck and Mr. Mime and stuff like that. We get to see these live action type versions of that. And they look pretty cool. And the trailer itself just looks really, really awesome. It's a world where Pokemon and humans coexist, and a human wanted to be a Pokemon trainer but never got around to it, and he lost his dad. His dad's missing or something like that. And so Pikachu finds him, and he's this teenager is the only one who can understand Pikachu talking like a regular person. Everyone else talks whenever they talk to Pikachu. It sounds like he's just saying Pika Pika and stuff like that. And this is all in the trailer as well. It's classic, it's funny, and it's entertaining, and definitely worth your while to check that out. Hellboy Day is coming to your local comic store in March in advance of the Hellboy movie that David Harbour is going to be starring on, the reboot, retelling, retake, whatever you want to call it, of Hellboy. And I've been a big fan of this since I first announced it on my show a while back. I love Hellboy. Hellboy is one of my absolute favorite comic books of all time. Mike Mignola is one of my favorite creators of all time. And I liked the Ron Perlman ones. I thought it was good to have a character like Hellboy that wasn't a typical Marvel and DC get their own movie, and you got 2 movies out of it with Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman, who really enjoyed telling the story. But it just wasn't the Hellboy I was looking for. I was looking for a straight up supernatural investigator, not some romantic comedy about a hell beast falling in love with a fire starter. They can work together and stuff like that, but I just want to see a regular Hellboy movie. Now, bear with me a second. If this movie does well, and I'm gonna be pushing this all the way till March. If this movie does well, the sequel needs to be Hellboy in Mexico. Which, let me tell you the story about Hellboy in Mexico. Hellboy's been around since the 1940s in the comics, and Patrick's excited for Detective Pikachu. And he's been around since the 40s, and gradually he's been growing. As he grows up, he's been investigating the paranormal, so he's seen everything. So there was a period in the 1960s, I think, 50s or 60s, where he was off the grid for 6 months, and he doesn't remember anything about it because he was in a drunken stupor in Mexico. And eventually there was a story where he remembers everything, and we see everything that happened during his 6-month hiatus in Mexico. And it is probably one of the best Hellboy stories I've ever read, and very entertaining. Richard Corbin artwork, which is fine. I like making Mignola artwork better, but to see Richard Corbin do most of the artwork for these stories, and just the amazing stories that were heartfelt and fun and horrific and terrible and loss and grieving, and there is even a little, for a few seconds, romance in it where Hellboy gets married, but you have to see the movie or read the story to find out what actually happens with that. So I think they should do that second. I think David Harbour would do a really good job with Hellboy in Mexico, and I think they need to do that as their sequel. But until then, we have this Hellboy movie coming out in March, so the local comic book stores are going to be doing a Hellboy Day in March, I think either the day after it comes out or the weekend before, or something like that, where they'll be giving away. It should probably come out the weekend that it comes out, because that way, if you go see the movie, you can go to your local comic book store, and they'll have a free Hellboy comic book for you, and whatever other free stuff they give for these days. They do a Batman Day. They've done Walking Dead days. It was local comic shop day today. Is there something in December? I feel like I'm missing one. I think there's one in December, but I can't think of it right now. There was a Wonder Woman Day in June. So you got a bunch of those coming up. So now we got Hellboy Day in March, and so I'm looking forward to that more than anything. So, because I absolutely love Hellboy, and right now, if you want to get caught up on Hellboy and you want to see what real Hellboy is about, Dark Horse Comics, which prints the Hellboy comics, they are currently redoing the Hellboy series in a bunch of omnibus trade paperbacks in chronological order. Because the way the comics came out is, it was whenever there was a story that Mike Mignola wanted to tell, he would set it at a certain time frame, and he would tell the story then. And so you might have a story that was set in the 70s, and then a few months later, the new miniseries came out, and it was set in present day. And then a few months later, it was set in the 1940s, So all these stories are all over the place. So Dark Horse finally got together, sat down, and put every story in chronological order. There are four Hellboy trades of the main stories and 2 of the short story trades. And that's 6 trades altogether. Short story trade volume 1 is the Hellboy in Mexico story, because they were a bunch of short stories that were printed over in miniseries, 2-issue miniseries that were printed out over a span of a few months. Highly recommend those. So go to Amazon or your local comic book store and ask for the Hellboy Omnibus. And you should see, as I said, there should be 6 total, 4 of the regular series, and then 2 of the short stories. And just read them and see how great Hellboy really is. And so cheers to Hellboy. Uh, Ennio Morricone, who is a famous composer, did the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme, is one of his more famous ones. Worked with Quentin Tarantino in one of his recent films. I think The Hateful Eight was the movie that he got Ennio to come and do the music for. Well, Ennio Morricone gave an interview where he called Quentin Tarantino a cretin whose movies are trash. And then literally after a few hours after he said that, he comes back and he recants that he ever said that. Now, something similar happened with Uma Thurman. I think, Patrick Smith says Hellboy movies without Ron Perlman are not Hellboy movies. I think David Harbour is going to change your mind on that. But it's your opinion. But yes, the novels and the comics are fantastic. That's Patrick again. So it happened with Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman once said that, Quentin got in her face during Kill Bill and spit in it and was, screaming and yelling at her and abusing her, not physically, but mentally and stuff like that. And then literally like about a day or so later or a few hours later, she recanted. And some people who are in the know believe that what happens is when they say that stuff, Ennio and Uma say that stuff, they really feel that way. But then Quentin comes and he does his little spiel with them and apologizes and, convinces them, that he understands what they're saying and gets their point of view, and then makes them decide to change their opinion. I don't know how true these stories are. I just found it an interesting headline, and then the fact that it was recanted almost immediately after it was released. So just kind of an interesting thing. Oh, I missed a trailer, and then I'm sorry, I skip that. Battle Angel Alita, which James Cameron is going to be producing and Robert Rodriguez is going to be directing. Now, this movie's just come out this year. It is now set for February 14th, 2019. It's based on the anime/manga, and the way Rodriguez is doing the main character is he's made the character have the big anime type eyes in a really cool way. So that's kind of an interesting thing, but it looks like an interesting take. I don't know if I'm going to watch in the movie theater, but it looks like a next level filmmaking type of stuff. And you get James Cameron producing and his technological savvy, along with Robert Rodriguez, who has his own sort of style and his own like savvy when it comes to filmmaking, working together on a film, and that could be pretty good. So we'll see what happens. Dodgeball. I talked about this at the beginning of the show. This is a brand new game. It's a hybrid game of dodgeball and archery. They have you have an arrow, you have a bow, and you are shooting foam tipped arrows. So basically it has a shaft and there's a foam tip on it. So it's not going to kill you when it impales you. They say it hurts less than paintballs. So, I mean, obviously, if you shoot something and it's going to go, I don't know, how fast does an arrow go, particularly with a big, what do you call it, foam top on the, how fast can it go? But if you get it going about 20, 25 miles an hour and it hits somebody, it could hurt. But they say that hurts less than paintball. I've seen people with humongous bruises from paintball. This hurts less. But basically, it's like a course, and it's like dodgeball, and people are shooting, instead of throwing balls at you, they're shooting these foam arrows at you, and you have to duck and dodge them and stuff like that. And I don't know if you are firing back at them, and that's the type of game. But it seems interesting. It seems like it could be entertaining. So check it out. If there's a dodgeball gaming area near you, take it and figure it out and let me know, and I'll talk about it on the show next time. Let's see. Thanksgiving's coming up. John Cryer. I love John Cryer. I've always loved him. I read his autobiography. It was excellent. But John Cryer will be playing Lex Luthor on the Supergirl TV show on the CW. Now, what's interesting about that is people who know their superhero history or whatever know that John Cryer played Lenny Luthor in the god-awful Superman 4, which was Christopher Reeve's last foray as Superman. But he actually is, someone who's been connected to the Superman movies, and Supergirl CW's had a good job of trying to connect some of the threads from various other Superman related shows on their show as well. Same with, the Arrowverse. I mean, getting John Wesley Shipp on the Flash, and of all things playing Barry's dad, and then in this Elseworlds crossover coming up in a few weeks, having him actually going back and putting on the Flash costume is just amazing. So that should be fun to see that. And John Cryer is, he's an underrated actor. I think he's actually really, really good. One of my favorite TV shows of all time is the famous Teddy Z. And he was great in that as well. Anybody also knows him from, 2.5 Men and Pretty in Pink, or his big forays and stuff, but he's done a whole bunch of other stuff as well, and it's highly recommended to check that out. So I think that is a good choice. It's a bold choice, it's a different choice, and hopefully he'll play it very well. So we'll do that as well. I don't know if you ever heard of the Toxic Avenger. It was these awful B movie from the 1980s, I think. Could have been Roger Corman, could have had something to do with, I don't know, but it was about, when nuclear waste was a big deal, and this was a superhero that was formed from this nuclear toxic waste, and went around and did a bunch of these B movie exploitation films, and they became fairly popular. Well, there's now, as everything else is, there's a musical version of the Toxic Avenger out now, so probably not like on a Broadway, but go to like your local arts center in any of the big cities near you, but not like your typical art areas. Like here in Baltimore, we don't really have a big area. The Hippodrome is where we get the traveling shows and stand-up comedians and stuff like that. But we also have a lot of smaller venues where plays are done, and they can take chances. Like we had one where they did the Evil Dead, the Broadway play. They called it the Broadway play, but it wasn't a Broadway play. It was just a regular play in time for Halloween. So now there's the Toxic Avenger, the musicals out there now too. So you really can make a play out of anything, I guess. So I'm good on that. Oh yeah, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Stupid people. Next up, we have a little sex appeal for you guys out there. A woman, excuse me, was denied entry into the Louvre due to her outfit. They showed a picture of her, and literally it was, I'm going to have to do a little bit of my little good thing here. It was literally sort of like this, with cleavage for days. Maybe not all the way down this far, but it was like cleavage for days. I mean, it was like pulled back, and it was almost, very visual. You could see basically everything, but it was like cleavage for days. And the Louvre didn't think that that was respectable enough, I guess, for a museum. I sort of can see that. Actually, let me see if I can dig up the picture on there, because I know my pale white naked body just, destroyed all your eyes out there. This is a much better looking picture that, and I don't think is it gonna, not gonna let me do it. It's going too fast. Yeah, I was going too fast. But I mean, I guess I can understand, it is when you see the picture, it is really, really goes a little too far, actually. I mean, look, I could stare at it for days because she's a hot chick, but at the same time, it's not appropriate. Now, again, they can say, well, why can't people wear whatever they want to a museum? Well, I'm just saying, it seemed like a little too much to me. And hopefully I can find the story. I don't have to go way, way far back. I might have to, because this was like early in the week. All right, well, I'm looking for that. Let me continue on. A state university in Florida. This pisses me off to no end. A state university in Florida that has this, excuse me, 7,700 students. So it's not some little small rinky-dink college. This is a pretty big one. Has decided that they are going to not offer history as a major anymore. Let me repeat that. A college is not going to offer history as a major anymore. I'm a history major, so this pisses me off to no end. Secondly, um, secondly, I believe history should be taught to everybody, and if everybody knew their history, they would, things could be better in the world. People would understand stuff that's going on in the world a bit better if they knew what was going on with history. And the fact that they are no longer going to offer it as a major, it kind of pisses me off just because I'm a history major. Look, I can maybe understand maybe the enrollment hasn't been there for history. Maybe, maybe because they didn't go into the detail in the story too much, but maybe the reason why they're canceling it is because only like 2 or 3 people of the whole college decided they were going to be history majors, and so it wasn't cost effective. That I can understand, but when you have 7,700 students, history is actually a fairly easy major. You do a lot of reading, you do a lot of writing, you do a lot of research. So if you like that kind of stuff, you can do that. At my school, my senior class of history majors, I think we had about 25 people. And then I think there obviously were other classes because there were tons of other history classes and other majors. And my school, here it is. So my school didn't have 7,700 people. We had at the time maybe 1,000, if that. So here is the shot of the outfit the woman was wearing who was denied entrance to the Louvre. And I just can't stop doing that because I'm just a big dumb male. So what do you think, guys? They did not allow her to come in because of that outfit. And yes, thank you, Patrick. Hail to the history majors. Respect to the history majors. Yes, we are. It's a great major, and I enjoy it. Yes, in the end, it doesn't really help much in the real world. I mean, I'm a uniform warehouse manager, so but I enjoyed my history, and I still read history to this day now. And I had a really good curriculum, and I can say I have a BA in history, and this just pisses me off. And I'm also pretty sure it pisses off my friend Pat, who was also in my history classes as well, and graduated the history major as well. So I'm pissed about that. I'll talk about that later. Animals, and I'll talk about that later. Kentucky Republican governor blames zombie TV shows for mass shootings. That in and of itself is just a stupid headline, but it's truth. There is a Kentucky Republican governor who refuses to accept the fact that mass shootings occur due to people access to guns and a chip on their shoulder. Instead, they blame everything else but that. In this case, zombie TV shows, particularly because, let me think about it. There's a grand total of what? 3 zombie movies or 3 zombie TV shows. There's Walking Dead, 4 if you count Fear the Walking Dead, Z Nation, and iZombie. And that's really about it. And iZombie, from what I recall, is not really a shoot 'em up. And to be honest, neither really is Z Nation. I mean, it has its moments. But so then basically, are you saying not necessarily just zombie shows, but are you saying Walking Dead is the reason why we have mass shootings? Well, let me clarify something for you. The Walking Dead started 9 years ago. That makes that, what, 2009? 2010, somewhere around there. I believe there was a little mass shooting by the name of Columbine that happened about 10 years before 99, when there were a grand total of, 0 zombie shows on TV. 0 in 1999. And Columbine happened, mass shooting. Maybe you heard of it. That pisses me off. To blame something else besides what it actually is, that pisses me off. 3-year-old in England was cast as an angel in her school's nativity play. when her mom told her, because she's 3 years old, she doesn't quite understand. When her mom told her what role she had, the girl threw a hissy fit because she wanted to play Batman instead. I say let her play Batman. It would make any nativity play better. I wish my kids got a chance to play Batman in their nativity play we do on Christmas Eve. I'm Batman. I'm here to see baby Jesus. I'll give him a college fund. Just still one of the greatest things Batman ever did. I think it's been retconned out. But before the New 52, and before Batman and Catwoman were an item, Catwoman got pregnant and had a baby. And eventually she had to give the baby up for adoption because it was too dangerous being the daughter of Catwoman. But here's the thing, though. Before she did that, when she first gave birth to the baby, Batman comes visiting Selina in the hospital where she has just given birth and is recovering and stuff like that. And he brings the baby a teddy bear, and also told Selina that he would set up a college fund for her, thanks to the Wayne Foundation. I think this was before. No, she knew he was Batman, that Bruce Wayne was Batman. But he came to visit her as Batman because, you can't have Bruce Wayne visit Selina. Well, I guess you could, because they were kind of an item in the old. I don't know. Regardless, it was just a really neat scene. It was late at night. Selina's recovering in the hospital room. Batman comes in. He's got a big smile on his face, and he's like, "This is for the baby." And it was a little teddy bear. It was cute. And then he said, "This is for you." It was a envelope, and inside was, "This is your child's college fund, thanks to the Wayne Foundation," or something like that. I thought that was always a cool story. But I think they retconned all that out when they did this rebirth New 50. It was New 52. When they did the New 52, they retconned all that out, which is a shame. But that's still an interesting story. And so, why be an angel when you can be Batman? Sad news. We'll get to the real big sad news a little bit later in the show, but this is fairly sad news also. William Goldman passed away this week. You may or may not know who that is. He was the writer, wrote the original story, the original book, and then wrote the screenplay for a little movie called The Princess Bride. Also, I believe he wrote the screenplay and adapted the screenplay of Misery into what we saw in that movie, which was awesome. He also did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And William Goldman also wrote a number of books about filmmaking. Some are still required reading today for people who want to make it big in Hollywood. Let me see if I can get his full credits. All the President's Men, he also did the screenplay for, which was an awesome movie. Marathon Man, he also did that as well. Let me see if they have his... he wrote the screenplay for Flowers for Algernon, which is a great story too. Let's see if they have any more of his... here we go. Personal life, he also credits theater, screenplays, Masquerade Harper, Butch Cassidy, Hot Rock, Stepford Wives, Great Wall to Paper, Marathon Man, Bridge Too Far, Magic, Heat, Princess Bride, Twins. He did uncredited right on that. Yep, he did Misery. He did A Few Good Men based on the play by Aaron Sorkin. He also did that also. Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which is a great movie. Chaplin, Indecent Proposal, Last Action Hero, Maverick. I forgot he did Maverick. He did do that also. Dolores Claiborne, he was the consultant on. Extreme Measures goes Fierce Creatures, uncredited. Good Will Hunting, consultant. Absolute Power, Hearts in Atlantis, Wild Card. He did a whole lot of help and cleaning up like that. So, yeah, he did a bunch of stuff. And so he will be missed. Let's see. Where is... I forget. There was one, I think there's a notable book. I forgot that what it was called. But William Goldman will be missed. And, with the death of Stan Lee, his death might have gotten a little bit not as covered as much. But William Goldman still will be sorely missed as well. Thanksgiving, obviously, is next week. I am so looking forward to it because it is the one time of the year where every year my company gives me a 4-day weekend. This is the only 4-day weekend I get that's officially every year. I can always get other ones if I want to take vacation days. And there's also potential this year for 2 more 4-day weekends, with Christmas and New Year's falling on Tuesday, because you have the company shuts down on the weekend. So, they turn the power off and the heat and all that stuff. And then to come in on Monday, just power everything up and just lights, electricity, heat, stuff like that, and then work for 8 hours and then shut it down and then be off the next day. It's just kind of, it's not very good business. So there's a potential that I could have 2 more 4-day weekends, but that only occurs between now and, and also when it lands on Thursday, when Christmas Day lands on Thursday, New Year's Day landed on Thursday. My company gave us that Friday for the long weekend. So hopefully we'll be able to get another long weekend out of it for both Christmas and New Year's. But as of now, every year, my Thanksgiving 4-day weekend, I always look forward to it. And this year's no different. We have 3 days of work, and then Thanksgiving's on next Thursday. Going to my sister's house for Thanksgiving, and then Friday is Black Friday. I sometimes go shopping, not often. Mostly I spend Good Friday and a good portion of Thanksgiving Saturday getting the house ready for Christmas. We get the tree up, get the exterior illumination up, and the interior decorations up. And there's a lot of stuff. Christmas is the big decorating time here at the Lang household, where this whole place is just filled with Christmas decorations. So going to be doing that this weekend. So, and got to start working on Christmas presents galore. So it'll be a lot of fun on that end. So the reason why I bring this up is because one thing that Thanksgiving is always known for is marathons and stuff like that. I remember before I met Dawn, when I was still living with my mom's house, I watched movie marathons during Thanksgiving because they always had some good ones. It was the first time I'd ever seen the Godfather movies, Godfather 1 and 2. They showed the version where they edited it chronologically, because remember in Godfather 2, there's an extensive prequel, as it were, in that film. So basically they took that section, put it before the Godfather, then did Godfather, then Godfather Part 2, and they made it into like one big movie. They showed that on one of the networks. Obviously it was cut to pieces, stuff like that, but I sat there enthralled and watched the whole thing. It was like 3-4 hours long or something like that. Might have been longer than that if I think about it, maybe 4 or 5 hours long, but I watched the whole thing, and then I went out and I bought the real ones and watched them again to see them uncut and stuff like that, and I fell in love with the Godfather movies. I also saw Willy Wonka for the first time on one of those holiday marathons that they always seem to do around that time of the year. So I got to do that. I mean, I saw that for the first time, and then I went out, bought that, and watched the whole actual live movie without any cuts and editing. What do you see, Jinx? I'm looking over at Jinx. She's got her head like, huh? What's going on? Anyway, this year, something different's happening. On IFC, I guess that's the Independent Film Channel, I guess. They will be showing a 24-hour Pee-wee's Playhouse marathon. Pee-wee's Playhouse was one of the best Saturday morning cartoons, shows, I should say. It wasn't really a cartoon back in the, I guess, late 80s, I suppose, back when he was hot. It was ahead of its time, and it was very entertaining. So now you're going to be able to see, they were like half an hour, so you double that. So you're looking at 48 episodes, maybe. They might even throw in the Christmas one, which is amazing. Oh, okay. That's a good question, Patrick. Yes, we'll bring that up in just one second. So they have the 24-hour Pee-wee's Playhouse marathon, and that's going to be on IFC. And the new season of MST3K on Netflix will be up on Thanksgiving Day, so you can marathon the turkey movies. It's 6 hours, I think, of turkey movies. That was one of the big things they used to do also, was during Thanksgiving, they would have these marathons of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I would sit down, I'd watch those also. So they're doing new episodes of the Netflix show with Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt on Christmas on Thanksgiving Day. They're going to release the new season. Also, the Kurt Russell Santa Claus movie, directed by Chris Columbus, which I talked about in the show a while back, will also be coming out on Christmas, or Thanksgiving rather, as will the holiday special of the Sabrina TV show. So a lot of good stuff coming up like that. Now, Patrick Smith had a good question, and I'm going to bring it up, and we're going to discuss it. He says, okay, at Holiday, since you are talking about this, is there a right time to put up and take down Christmas decorations? First and foremost, Patrick, it's not my decision or choice to tell you when to put up your Christmas decorations. That being said, my personal opinion is I like Thanksgiving. I always found Thanksgiving to be an underrated holiday. Hell, I did a complete episode of Dylan Knows with Jerry Fletcher where we did our countdown of the top 10 reasons why Thanksgiving is the best, one of the best holidays. I reposted it last week. I might repost it again this week coming up for Thanksgiving. So you guys check it out. It was like episode 19. So that was like, 250 episodes ago. We did this, but it's still one of my favorite episodes. I always like Thanksgiving, and I always cringe when the day after Halloween, Christmas stuff starts coming up. Christmas music is being played in certain areas. Christmas decorations come up. Now, look, I can understand like a Target and Walmart and those types of stores put up their Christmas displays early. I get that. I do. I don't like it, but I understand it because, to be honest, Thanksgiving is just an American holiday. Canadian Thanksgiving's back in October. So this Thanksgiving coming up at the end of November is only in America. So it's an American holiday, and really all it is, for all intents and purposes, Thanksgiving basically is eating turkey with family, watching football, or giving thanks, and also giving thanks and blah, 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 all that other stuff. But so I like to, after Halloween, I like to have sort of that build up to Thanksgiving. I don't want to do anything with Christmas yet because I always had Christmas as being the day after Thanksgiving. As soon as Thanksgiving's over, bam, Christmas music comes on, Christmas decorations go up, then it's all Christmas galore. Let's watch Christmas movies and cartoons and talk Christmas stuff. I'll do that till the cows come home the day after Thanksgiving. That's my personal opinion. My neighbor, and it's actually really interesting that you brought this up today, Patrick. My neighbor on this side over here, they always put their Christmas decorations up about a week before Thanksgiving. And sure enough, today, literally this day, their exterior illumination is up. They have lights up and the candy cane, the solar candy cane things that, during the day, it sucks up the solar energy, and then at night it glows. And then they were one of the first people to get those, those spotlight things that the stars and the snowflakes and the colors all over your house that are through spotlights. And I've got one of those too. Actually, I have two of those now. And they put their Christmas tree up last week. You can see it. They put it by their bay window. You can see my bay window a little bit back there. That's where I put my Christmas tree, in front of our bay window. They put theirs up also, but they have their shades pulled also. But if you look close enough, you can see their Christmas decorations up there. So they had theirs up early. You know what? I'm okay with if you do it the week before Thanksgiving. That's fine. I can understand that. There is no really good time. I mean, let's face facts. Another thing I used to watch during the Christmas season was like on HGTV and stuff like that. They have these most insane Christmas decoration event type of things. And they go to all these places all across the country where they have the most insane Christmas decorations. They've got like radio stations that play music, and their whole yard is filled with all kinds of crazy lights and animatronics and stuff like that. So these people start putting their stuff up like in the summertime because they have a lot of connections they have to do, and they have a lot of other stuff they have to work out. So they get their stuff up early. I Don't know when they turn their lights on. I think they wait till the day after Thanksgiving also, but I could be wrong. They could also maybe do it right after Halloween as well. Another interesting thing that the fact that you brought this up today is really interesting as well. There is a house on the way to my daughter's best friend's house. My daughter is at her best friend's birthday party today. It's a sleepover over her house. And on the way to her house, there is a magnificent, gorgeous, big house. It's sort of, it's down in a hill. We have this main road, and then there's a driveway that goes down, and there's like a hill, a grassy hill and yard, and then this big, humongous house with this big, humongous tree. Today, last year, they decorated that house crazy. Wreaths and white lights and decorations on the big tree and all kinds of craziness. Today, as I'm driving my daughter to her best friend's house, the dude rented a giant ass truck to start putting the lights on his big tree. So he's getting his stuff ready. When I was bringing Sesame Squirrel back from the train station, she's our friend who's up here for the weekend with us. We drove past a house in Glendon, which is down the road from us, which is getting their Christmas display up right now. So I guess in this area, it seems to be the best time to put Christmas decorations up is maybe the week before or the week of Thanksgiving, because I guarantee you a lot of other people believe the same thing that I do. The day after Thanksgiving, that weekend after Thanksgiving, the number of houses that go to zero Christmas decorations to Christmas decorations is insane, the amount that we get in just that weekend alone. So a lot of people wait for after Thanksgiving. Some people do it the week before, obviously my neighbor and these other people as well. It's really up to you. I personally think the day after Halloween is way too soon because, Christmas is December 25th. That's November 1st. So you have November 1st to December 1st, then to December 25th. So that's like 55 days of Christmas decorations. Now, a lot of people who like Christmas decorations, let's say, that's not too bad. But Halloween and Thanksgiving are fall holidays. Christmas is a winter holiday, and you start putting Christmas stuff up, you start thinking winter stuff. Now, when you get to Thanksgiving, yes, it's still fall, but it's late enough in fall. It's like, okay, Christmas can start officially now, because that's when it always seemed to start in the old days. They used to show, Home Alone and the Charlie Brown Christmas and the Grinch and all that the weekend after Thanksgiving, the weekend of Thanksgiving. And then they would show it again later on in December when more people would be getting more into the spirit of it. And now you've got 24-hour, Christmas shows all the time, 24-hour music. So, it's up to you, Patrick, how you decide you want to do it. As I said, personally, I wait till after Thanksgiving. And I said people have seen people before, a week or so before Thanksgiving. I think, don't do it right after Halloween. Do it somewhere in the mid-November to just slightly before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving. Now, you can also wait till December 1st. You can do that as well. I have no problem with that as well, because I see a lot of people, not necessarily this weekend, but the next weekend, which will be the 1st and 2nd of December. You'll see a lot more houses they might actually wait till December to get their decorations up. So we have that as well. Now, keeping them up, Dawn can attest. This house, it takes me like almost a day and a half to get this house all decorated. I decorate this house like crazy. And I'm really, Dawn helps me out, but I'm the one that usually does the planning and the setup and the stuff like that. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work, and it's depressing taking it all down also. So I remember back in 2012, actually, this is funny. This is a football thing also. The Ravens were on an incredible run at the end of December, and then they got to the playoffs, and they were on their way to the Super Bowl. So I kept the Christmas stuff up because they kept winning in the playoffs all the way through to Super Bowl Sunday. So, and then actually I think it went further than that. I think it was like a couple weeks later after that. Last year, it was sometime in mid-January. I keep it up for a while because I don't want to take it down, because the thing about Christmas is the build up to Christmas. That's why I think everybody loves Christmas. Christmas Day itself is nice because you open the presents and you see family and it's all, it's Christmas, yay. And then right after December 26th is when reality sets in again. It's like, ugh. what am I going to do? Then you have to start looking at the new year. You start thinking about work and stuff like that. And the fact that there's no real big holidays for a while coming up. But the lead up to Christmas is the thing that really gets me excited and personally gets me jazzed for the season. The Christmas music, the Christmas lights, the Christmas decorations, the buying of the Christmas presents, the Christmas specials, the Christmas movies. I like to go around once, once every year. I like to drive around. Could be with my family, could be by myself, whatever, and look at all the lights in the neighborhood. I don't do this till like mid-December, but it gives a chance for everybody to get the lights up, just to see all the unique and different Christmas lights people have up and displays have up. So I keep mine up till mid-January, unless I'm feeling really lazy, and sometimes I even get it into February. I think there might have been one time where I might have even pushed it to March because I didn't want to take down everything, because it's hard to take all the ornaments off the tree and put them all back in the right boxes, and then take all the lights down and all the decorations up and clear out the front and take down the stuff out front. It's cold outside and you don't want to go outside and take down all that stuff and so on and so forth. But eventually it gets to the point where it's like, when are you going to get this? We got to get this out of here. And it makes the house look so nice when it's Christmas. But then as soon as Christmas hits, it's like, okay, that's enough. And so I just sort of let it linger for a while. And thankfully, Dawn's good with it till about mid-January. Then she starts getting a little antsy about things. And usually we find a weekend and we just do it, or we do it a little bit at a time. Like I might take the stuff over the mantle over there down, or I might take the stockings that we hang up over there down, or the lights. I change out the lights that we put in the bay window. The tree is going to take some time because the ornaments take so long to take off and put back in their boxes. And that's like almost a couple hour day event to do during the year. So I keep it up till then. My neighbors, again, literally like the week after Christmas, that stuff's out of here. It's done, out the door. Now, something that pissed me off last year was I had a inflatable, and I had a lighter, a spotlight type of thing on the house. And I kept it out a little longer maybe than I should have. I honestly don't remember. I think it was late January or whatever. One day I came back from work, and someone, and this still pisses me off, someone had taken my inflatable that was deflated and was laying on my property, on my yard, had taken it off of my yard and put it on my porch. He physically came onto my yard, took my property from my yard, and put it on my porch as if to say, get this shit off of your yard. First of all, it's my yard. It's not your freaking yard. And secondly, you just trespassed, son of a bitch. Sure, our houses might be connected, and I'm blaming this guy over here, my other neighbor over here. And then, literally, like the next week, he did the same thing with my lighter speaker and took that up and put my floodlight thing and put that on the porch also. It's like, okay, Christmas is over. Take your stuff off. Well, here's the thing, though. 2 houses down, they still had all their freaking Christmas stuff out. A couple houses back that way, they still had their Christmas stuff out. So I'm still pissed about that, and I hope to God this person doesn't pull that shit again this year. I would be extraordinarily pissed. This just pissed me off to no end. Now, I can't say for sure that it was my neighbor on this side, but I have a good feeling it was him. Anyway, so keep, January, keep it through January is fine. If you want to get some religious aspect to it, the Epiphany, which is like the sort of the end-all be-all of Christmas kind of for the Catholics, is a good time. That's like January 8th, 9th, somewhere around there. That's basically kind of the end of the Christmas season. That's when the 3 wise men showed up and gave their gifts to Jesus. So a lot of people wait until that point to do that. And then some people also, they wait until they get a free time. Sometimes maybe Martin Luther King weekend, if they have off Martin Luther King Day, they usually do it that weekend. They also have to wait for good weather because it's unpredictable weather. Like last year, actually not last year, this past January 2018, we had our weekends, the temperature was like in the 60s. And then we get into February, March, and then it starts getting to be more winter-like. So it was kind of weird. So it's really it's up to you. And don't let asshole neighbors dictate when you take your Christmas stuff down. Hell, you have every right, if you want to leave your Christmas stuff up all year round if you want to. Now, again, it's up to the people you live with, but do not let any asshole neighbors or community people say you got to get rid of this stuff, because it's your property and it's your decorations and it's none of their freaking business. So a good rule of thumb is sometime in January when you get a second, because it depends also on how your display is. If it's big, if it's impressive, it might take some time. So you might want to, do it over a span of a few weekends or whatever, or you might well do it just at one time, which you can do as well. So as I said, I wait till January sometime to do mine, maybe even as late as February, and then that's about it. So I hope that answers your question. So moving on. Woman claims doll is possessed and it attacked her boyfriend because it was jealous of him. I mean, possessed dolls are the new big thing out there now, and I guess it could happen. MJ Khan says, if your neighbor pulls that shit this year, just give me a shout. I'll head up there and put something in your yard that I will dare him to touch. Thanks, man. I'm glad you got my back, buddy. Love it. So we're good on that. So we have that. So that's an interesting story as well. Speaking of Christmas, if you are a MAGA fan or Donald Trump fan or whatever, they are releasing MAGA building blocks that help you build the wall, and you get your own little Lego-esque type of Donald Trump as well. So if you have conservative people in your family that like that kind of thing, go for it, man. Dubs, the University of Washington's mascot, it's a live husky dog, is retiring after this year, and it's kind of neat. After it was, I think he was working his at least 20 years. I think he's been being their mascot since he was a puppy. So that's fantastic. So congratulations, Dubs. Hope you have a good retirement. Enjoy yourself. Sour Patch Kids cereal is a new thing coming out. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be actual Sour Patch Kids that you're eating a cereal box. That would just be kind of gross. But I guess maybe if you make it like regular cereal, but make it kind of a soury flavor, I guess you can do that as well. It's an interesting idea, and I'm just wondering how they're going to be able to pull that off. I don't know. If you know somebody who gets cold all the time, or you live in an area where it's going to get really, really cold really, really quickly, well, Amazon has something new for you. It's a jacket that has a built-in heater. So you go outside and you're getting cold, you turn on the button, and I think it's in the back, and then it'll heat up, and you'll get a nice, warm, toasty, heated jacket when you're going out in the freezing cold. So that's pretty interesting. Hi, Jinxie. The darts championship, I guess over in England there, had a little bit of controversy this weekend when both darts players, who I guess were in the final or whatever, accused each other of farting during the competition. And I don't know, why is that bad? Is that distraction-y? Is that a distraction to fart while you're trying to throw darts? I'm not 100% certain about that. I don't know really too much about that, so I don't know. I guess it's a bad thing. It was a story, so they made them very unhappy. So okay. Before I get into the animal stuff, mysterious website is putting out a call for movie pitches for Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and Frankenberry. So if you have a movie pitch, Jinx, Hold on. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my cord got stuck on Jinx's tail, and she was not having any go of it. So if you have an idea to make a movie that's going to feature Count Chocula, Frankenberry, or Boo Berry, this website is looking for your pitches, and if they like your pitches, they'll turn it into a movie. I think Sci-Fi was the one that broke the story. They had an interesting idea. They said, monsters who can't find a job decide to create their own cereal monopoly or whatever like that, and it's a business type of thing. So if you have some ideas, again, crank it. I don't know what the website is. I guess maybe if you do a search engine, you'll be able to find it. The definition of a kilogram has just changed. This is, again, kind of a scientific sort of what? But the thing is, the weight isn't changing. It's just how they're going to measure it. Supposedly, I read the article a little bit. What a kilogram is, the way it used to be was there's an actual block that's in a case, which is what a kilogram is based upon, is the weight of whatever this metal thing is. And so they use that for the weight of the kilogram, but now they're doing something with ratios and some other stuff. I didn't quite understand it, but the fact is, the headline was like, it's a huge scientific change and it's going to change the world, stuff like that, but it doesn't change the weight. A kilogram is still a kilogram. It's just how you measure what a kilogram is the only thing that went different. So I don't know, but hey, it's an interesting story, and I figured I'd do it. For you Harry Potter fans out there, Fantastic Beasts 2 is out this week. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to see it, because Noelle and I are the only ones who've seen it. I haven't shown it to Dawn or Noah yet. Noah hasn't even read the Harry Potter books yet. He's actually said the new year he wants to start reading that. So that's a good thing. He's right about the right age that we do it. And also later on in the show, when we cover the stuff that happened during this week, anniversary, stuff like that, 2 Harry Potter movies premiered this week. One on this day, 17 years ago. So we'll talk about that. So Harry Potter's still a thing out there, and Walmart is offering $14 mystery wands that can be a good stocking stuffer. I think it's one of these things where you don't know what kind of wand you're going to get. It's like wrapped in a generic wrapper or whatever, and you won't know until you open it. So if you have a fan of Harry Potter and you want to get them a wand, but you don't know who it is, it's like sort of surprise them. You buy it, $14 one, you put it in the stocking, and then Christmas morning they come down, they open it up and say, hey, I got Bellatrix's wand, or I got Voldemort's wand, or I got Harry's wand, or whatever, and you get a wand. And that's kind of cool. I'm going to have to look into that maybe for my son, because as I said, my son is just starting to get into Harry Potter now. He's sort of been on the periphery, but now he's starting to really into it. I think a friend of his from Before School Care has gotten him into the Harry Potter stuff, so he's really interested about it too. And it's so interesting. So he's so interested in it that he took the sorting quiz. Now, yes, I'm fully aware that my whole family is a bunch of geeks and nerds, and I'm proud of the fact that they are. But I took mine, and I was sorted into Hufflepuff, and I'm a proud Hufflepuff. I have no issue with being a Hufflepuff, and I'm glad to be a Hufflepuff. Dawn and Noelle took their sorting quizzes. They're Ravenclaw, which is, if you knew them, you would expect that. And I wasn't sure. I thought I had an idea what I thought Noah would be if he ever took it, and actually it sort of came true. I thought he'd be Gryffindor, and he's Gryffindor. So Noah is Gryffindor, I'm Hufflepuff, and Dawn and Noelle are Ravenclaw. So we will I might have mentioned that last week, I don't remember, but so we're going to start getting Harry Potter stuff. I think I'm going to get Noah some Gryffindor stuff, and I think he'll enjoy that. And then these wand things might be pretty cool too. This is interesting. I didn't know this, and I might even try this if it doesn't kill me. But apparently, if you put butter in your coffee, it'll make you more alert. Apparently, I guess the butter, I guess it increases the caffeine and the awareness and the awakeness and alertness, stuff like that, and it makes it creamier and tastes better and stuff like that. I don't know. This is just from what I read on a story on Facebook, I guess. And they made some points about what made it good, but the biggest one that stood out to me is that it helps like sort of streamline or push the caffeine a bit more to make you more alert. So that's a pretty interesting thing on that end as well. Basketball player Hassan Whiteside, I think it was Whiteside. Hassan Whiteside bought a $50,000 assault rifle. Nothing wrong with that. You know, you went through the proper channels and you bought it. You had the money to spend. You're a big basketball player. What I am going to question you about is so after you bought it, so you have the rifle, you have the ammo, and you got nice bags for all that stuff. You drive to practice in your Rolls Royce, which again, you're rich, you made your money, you're a player. Hey, why not? I have no problem with that either. Here's what I have a problem with. So you drive your Rolls Royce to your practice. You leave your $50,000 assault rifle and bullets in the back seat of your Rolls Royce, and you leave your Rolls Royce unlocked as you go into practice. After practice, you come out, after you've showered and all that stuff, you come out, you open your car door, your gun is gone. Someone broke, they didn't need to really break into it, your door was unlocked, stole your $50,000 assault rifle with bullets and the bags and stuff like that. Dude, you got, particularly your Rolls Royce, you need to lock that shit up, man. I mean, I can figure out maybe you felt it was no threat of anything like that, but even I lock my door out here in front of my house, and my neighborhood is fairly safe, except for the assholes who take my decorations off of my yard and put it on my my porch. That's besides the point. Just be smarter next time. Now, I don't know who took your 50K assault rifle. Now, if someone gets killed from that 50K assault rifle, that's on you, man, and you need to find that shit like now. Switching gears a little bit. I only drink diesel fuel coffee. It has to come straight out of the filter. That's good. As I said, that's just something I read, that it's supposed to make you more alert and make things creamier for you, I guess. Corpus Christi Taco. I guess it's a chain down in Texas. You can get their specialty, I guess, the Corpus Christi Taco for $13. It weighs 5 pounds. So a 5-pound taco can be yours for $13. So if you're really, really hungry and you love your Mexican food or your tacos, go to Corpus Christi and get yourself a Corpus Christi taco. 5 pounds of taco goodness for $13. It almost looks like a burrito to me. The picture I look is like, why don't you just call it a burrito? Because it looks like a burrito, but alas. This is a good for all the non-smokers out there, and I wish my company would do this, even though they're not going to. This is up there with the fact that I've told this story a couple times. Studies say people over the age of 40 should only work 3 days a week. I agree with that. I think that's a fantastic idea. Here's another good one. Some company, I don't know exactly where it is, but a company is offering non-smokers an extra 6 days of vacation to make up for their smokers' cigarette breaks. So if you work in a company and you have smokers, which is fine, there's no problem with you being I have no problem with anyone being a smoker. It's what you do. I have no problem with you taking a smoke break. I'm okay with that. And I'm not angry that you take a smoke break, you know, every 10 minutes, it seems. It's not my place to get angry. It is if you're working for me and you're doing a big order and you're like, oh no, I got to stop and go smoke. And you smoke for like 10 minutes and you come back and you work on the order for like 10 minutes. Like, oh, I got to go again. Then I might get a little pissed at you. But to the credit of the people I work with, no one's ever done that to me. But I like this idea where, because these people do take so many cigarette breaks during the day, that when you add it all up, I guess over a year or whatever, it's going to equal about 6 days that they take off when they take their smoke breaks, because they're taking a break. You know, we have designated break times at my job. We have one at 10 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock. It's 15 minutes. You don't have to clock out or anything. You just stop. You can go smoke and do whatever you want. That's fine. These are people who go out and smoke all the time. So I kind of like that they were given an additional 6 days of vacation to make up for the smoke breaks that their cigarette smoking employees do. And it's because I'm a non-smoker. Of course I like that. A lost Disney cartoon, Oswald, precursor to Mickey Mouse, has been found in Japan. It's been kind of not like an urban legend, but it's been a story out there that there was such a thing, that there was a Oswald cartoon that predated Mickey Mouse, and it's been rumored to be around, but it was lost. But apparently it's just been found in Japan. I think I mentioned this last week when I talked about all the unnecessary reboots. Pirates of the Caribbean is being rebooted. This time, though, they are looking at a female pirate lead, which is, it's a great idea. It's fine. And it's the trend that's going on in Hollywood. They know Hollywood has finally started to discover that, hey, women like to go to the movies, sometimes by themselves, not necessarily with a man or whatever. So we should probably make some movies that women might like. So, and hell, I'd love to see a, nice looking woman dressed up in pirate garb kicking ass. Why not? I think it'd be fun. So, if you can do a Pirates of the Caribbean movie with a female pirate, hey, I'm all for it. Why not? Captain Jane Sparrow. Female pirates are sexy. Let's see. That's animals. Lost continents have been discovered underneath Antarctica in a dead satellite data. There was a dead satellite in outer space. They were looking at some data from it that was still transmitting before it died, and they discovered underneath Antarctica there are remnants of other continents that had been around since the old days, which might fill in the gaps of Pangea. For those who don't know what Pangea is, when the world first was created, everything you see now, Africa and Australia and North America, South America, Europe, Asia, stuff like that, we were all one big continent. And gradually over time, we split up into what you see now. So apparently there were other continents there, and they have been discovered underneath Antarctica. So, that's pretty interesting as well. That reminded me, what was I going to... oh, yeah, George Clooney, that's right. Speaking of satellites, George Clooney has reportedly bought and sent up a satellite that spies in on the Sudan leader, because to make sure that he's a dictator. Sudan's leader is a dictator, and to make sure that monitor that he's not killing people he's not supposed to, and stuff like that. So George Clooney has basically become Batman. Batman has satellites all over that spies on other things. And now George Clooney is spying on the Sudan dictator to make sure that nobody gets hurt. I guess that's good. I mean, don't know what else you can say about that. Teenagers are stupid. Patrick Smith agrees with me. Female pirates are sexy. Teenagers are boiling sanitary pads and drinking the liquid that comes out of that. Now, it didn't say use sanitary pads. If that did, I think I would vomit right here and right now. That's up there with Kristen Bell drinking her placenta last week that I talked about. What is wrong with teenagers today that they need to get these weird... I blame Fear Factor for that. I mean, why the hell? Who in their right mind also said, you know what? I have a sanitary pad here. Let's boil it in water and then drink the liquid out of it. I mean, what is it supposed to do? Does it give you a high or something? And why would it give you a high? Because it's a sanitary pad. it has, some of them have, fresh scents on it, and it didn't say it was used. If it was used, that'd be really, really disgusting. Um, so teenagers are stupid, and I'm going to have a teenager in 2 years. God. Yeah, Noelle turns 12 next month. Mom was pulled out to sea with her son on a swan float. One of those floats you go, around in harbors and water and stuff like that. MJ Khan, teenagers being selectively drained from the evolutionary pool. Good riddance. Yes, I agree. So a woman and her son got into one of those swan boat things. And we have dragon boats down at the Inner Harbor here in Baltimore, so I get this. I don't quite understand this one, though, because they got into this swan boat and it pulled them out to sea. Now, I don't think it was the ocean, but they're saying they are thanking beachgoers for calling 911. Now, I mean, the lakes out in the Midwest, I know some of them have beaches. Maybe that's what they were talking about, because I don't know of any like swan floats that would go out into the actual ocean, because it would be a little too rough with the waves and stuff like that. So, or it could be similar to like the Bay, because, the Bay here in Baltimore, we do have other beaches that you can go swimming into the Bay. And then we also have Ocean City, we can go swimming into the ocean. Ocean City. Oh, never mind. But regardless, it was an interesting story. Mom and her son were pulled out to sea on this swan float. Beachgoer saw them, called 911. 911 came out and rescued them. Everyone's happy and good. I wish this guy would come around to my neighborhood. Sorry, Patrick. It's Dawn Snarks. He's talking about placentas and sanitary napkins again. You got to step in and stop him. She's not presently here. Her and Sesame Squirrel are they're back from the pool now. They're chilling with probably some adult cocktails in Sesame Squirrel's hotel room, while Noah's probably watching some videos or whatever. I wish a guy would come around my neighborhood and do this. This dude walks around at night and he pimps out people's cards with cardboard. So he puts cardboard up on people's cars and gives them really cool looking shapes and makes their cars look cool. That'd be really neat to come out and say, what the frig? Someone put cardboard on my car? What? Because it's cardboard. It's not like it's permanent. You can just go, I don't like this, tear it right off. But it's just kind of cool that a guy's creative and say, you know what? This guy needs a spoiler or some other stuff like that. Let's put one on here and tape it down and go away. And I think it's kind of neat to have, as long as they're not stealing your car, as they're just decorating it, as long as they're not like graffitiing it or whatever, if they're putting this cardboard on it, it's not really defacing the car because it's not damaging the car. You just tear it off and it's done. It's just kind of a neat thing that, there's some mysterious people walking around doing that. I talked about Harry Potter earlier, and I'm going to talk about it again real quick. Everybody on this show knows I'm a big Pokemon Go fan, as is my wife and my kids. The company that created Pokemon Go, Niantic, last year they announced that they were going to be doing a Harry Potter version of like a Pokemon Go telephone game. And it is now, the first trailer was released for it. The game will be coming out next year. And it's going to be done in a similar style to Pokemon Go, but it's going to be Harry Potter centric. And the trailer just basically had a young girl trying to stop magic stuff, and then put up a sign saying, we need you to, magic's escaping into the Muggle world, we need you to stop it. So basically I think what's going to happen is magical beings and magical spells and stuff like that are going to be released into the Muggle world, and it's going to be your job as a wizard to get rid of it so that the Muggles don't discover the magical world. So I think that's a really neat game, and I'll be interested to see it, and I will probably be playing it. You'll probably hear more about this next year on Dylan Knows when I talk about it when it comes back up, and I'll let you know about it. One more sports-esque one. I know how much you love the sports ball, Patrick, but MJ Khan might find this one interesting. Le'Veon Bell, who was the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was a really good running back also. He was going to be franchise tagged again this year for the second year in a row or third year in a row. Instead of getting a long-term contract from the Steelers, they were going to franchise him for another year. They were going to pay him $14 million, but it was just for basically a one-year contract, and they had no desire to sign him to a long-term contract worth a lot more money than that. Le'Veon felt that he can do better on the open market, but he's still under contract, so he refused to sign his tender, and so he had until this past weekend, not this weekend, last weekend, to sign it. If you didn't, you cannot play football for any team this year. He didn't sign it. He's not going to play football this year. And then next year, the Steelers are probably just going to go ahead and release him, and he'll be able to test the market for free agency. Now, what's interesting, though, and this is the fun story, this is the interesting story, Le'Veon Bell, when he first announced this at the beginning of the year, it sort of caught his teammates off guard, and they were kind of upset. They were kind of hoping he'd make it eventually and so forth like that. But now they have a new running back who's just as good as Le'Veon Bell, so now they don't care. They're winning again, stuff like that. So after he didn't show up, and he's no longer going to play for the Steelers ever again, and he's not playing this year, well, they decided they were going to raid Le'Veon Bell's locker because he still had clothes in it from last year or preseason or whatever. So people are stealing, his teammates are stealing shoes and suits and stuff from his locker. And they were filming them doing it and say, hey, Le'Veon, thanks for the shoes, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Monopoly for millennials is getting a lot of millennials upset. It is a Monopoly game for millennials. And it's kind of is a not racist, but stereotypical game of what everyone expects millennials to be. There's no houses because they live in the basements of their family's house. They start the game in debt, and you've got to clear that debt out, stuff like that. So we'll see how much that is. I'm not a big fan of that. The Alf reboot is dead. I announced that a while back that they were going to be doing a reboot of the show Alf. Well, it's dead now. Not going to happen. Continuing the trend of some really cool B movies. How about this for a title? Cowgirls versus Pterodactyls. Cowgirls, like pirates, but female pirates, are sexy. And to have them take on pterodactyls is interesting, and I want to see this movie, but I don't know when we're going to be able to see it. Newlywed couple in England on a lark decided they would invite the Queen to their wedding, knowing full well she wasn't going to show up. Day of the wedding, guess who shows up? The Queen of England. So, it's kind of neat. They were taken aback by it, but they were very happy to see her. So why not? Vodka-filled ornaments for your Christmas tree are a thing now. So if you want to decorate your Christmas tree with beautiful Christmas balls, by all means, go ahead. But these particular Christmas balls have a little cork at the top or a little thing you unscrew, and you do that, and you take some hits, and there's some vodka in there. Also, it's good for Santa. He's going to get a chance to get a little blasted while he's flying around, the world. I mean, he's got to stay warm. It's cold out there, so why not? Potato skins can help turn your gray hair. Got a little bit. Not really that much, can turn your gray hair back to its natural color. I didn't quite read how, but there it is. This is that's part of the animal stuff. I'll do that in a second. Oreo dunking kits are available now. It's kind of ridiculous. MJ Khan, not only is reboot of Alf dead, but so is the career of the executive that pitched it. Absolutely. There's Oreo dunking kits now. Basically, it has a glass. You put the milk in. It's got a little stacker. You can stack your Oreos, and it has a little spoon thing that you can grab and dip without using your fingers and eating it that way. I mean, I guess you don't have to use the little clapper thing and use your fingers and dip it in, but it's kind of you have a stacker for your Oreos and a milk thing connected to it, and you just dunk it in there. That's a good Christmas gift, I guess, for somebody. Oh yeah, speaking of that, this past Halloween, I won $50 from my work because I dressed up like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's an inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex. You've seen them on TV and viral videos and stuff like that. It's like 8 feet tall, and it's really cool, and it was a lot of fun. Well, I saw my next costume I want to get, and this is available at Target. A wearable Christmas tree with presents as shoes. So basically, you put on the Christmas tree costume, and the shoes are presents, and you can walk around as a Christmas tree. Pretty cool. I need to buy that. And for my Christmas episode of Dylan Knows, I need to wear it. So, to be continued. MJ, if you're still here, I saw someone just popped out. North Carolina Highway Patrol is going to be placing police officers every 20 miles along the highway during Thanksgiving, which makes a lot of sense for a couple of reasons why. I've mentioned this before, and the biggest drinking day of the year, it's not New Year's, it's not St. Patrick's Day, it's actually the day before Thanksgiving. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is the biggest drinking day of the year. And the reason why, I guess this is the biggest drinking day in America, I suppose. The reason why is obvious because, first of all, most everybody in the world is off on Thanksgiving. Most everybody in the world is going to visit family. A lot of people have strained relations with family or don't like visiting family because the family's, it's kind of stressful or whatever. They have to travel, whatever. Other times, kids who went away to college come back for the Thanksgiving holiday, can meet up and hook up with their friends. You know, after work on Wednesday, knowing you've got a potential 4-day weekend like I have, or at least you have the next day off, people go to bars and they get totally trashed because the next day is a holiday and then you can recover all day if you need to, or if you have the whole 4-day weekend, you have all 4-day weekend to do it. So it is the biggest drinking day of the year. And then of course you have, you know, Thanksgiving itself, people are still drinking a lot as well. And then Black Friday, you know, people drink because they get stressed out from shopping. So the North Carolina Highway Patrol is going to have these troopers here every 20 miles to make sure that there's no DUIs and stuff like that, which is good, or DWIs. Speaking of DWIs, a Jets fan gets a DWI, and he blamed it on how bad the New York Jets were playing. So I find that kind of funny also. I got a few more to go, and then I'm going to do animals, and then Stan Lee, and then holidays, and then I'm out of here. The Pentagon fails its first ever comprehensive audit, which is not a good sign. So that's to be continued. There are now Optimus Prime designed washer dryers. It looks like Optimus Prime, and it's a washer dryer for the Transformer fan in your life. That's also animals. A 61-year-old woman suffers a broken neck after being struck by a motorized cart at Walmart. That's not funny, but at the same time, it's kind of a weird. Those motorized carts are not that fast, and she was hit by somebody. And how do you, I guess if you get hit, maybe, I guess if you go that way, you could break your neck. If you get hit from the front, I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap that around my head. It's how someone can break their neck that way. I'm not sure. Finally, the big story that just came over the wire recently before I came on the show, I figured I'd add this in there. The Danny DeVito College Bathroom Shrine at, where is it? The SUNY, SUNY something. There's a college up in upstate New York. That SUNY Purchase School in upstate New York. There's a secret shrine in one of the bathrooms there. You have to push a broken paper towel holder to the side, and then there's some walls in there. You move some stuff. There's a big hole, and then you move some stuff, and there's like walls with graffiti on it. You move some of those walls, and that's where the shrine is. It's hidden, so well hidden, and it's a cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito with a sign that says, "Leave an offering for our Lord and Savior, Danny DeVito, patron saint of trash men," which is based on a character that he plays on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And people were leaving trash there. They left empty water bottles, balled up trash, whatever. Well, the reason why this became news is because the reason why they did this originally was they wanted to get Danny DeVito to come to their school and visit them. So they said, "Hey, look at all the stuff that we did for you." And Danny DeVito responded, said, "This is very cool, and I'll be up sometime soon to see you." So in the end, it worked out. All right, so we'll talk about Stan Lee at the end. Let's talk about animals. I have conspiracy. If you've been watching my show, I have a conspiracy theory that I believe that the animals are slowly starting to take over the world. I've told you other stories over the last month or so that are starting to prove this. Ethiopian apes domesticating wolves, pet monkeys driving buses, a rat in a basement of a Washington, D.C. apartment complex pulled the fire alarm, and other stuff as well that's popped up. Well, I got a new one for you today, and I got some other animal stories I figure I would mention in connection with this. It's not all proof that animals are trying to take over the world, but this one, to begin with, is. There is an octopus named Otto. I'm not exactly sure which aquarium this is at, but he caused an aquarium blackout by swimming to the edge of his tank and shooting his black ink at a light that was bothering him. The ink hit the light, caused some sort of electrical disturbance, and burned out the electricity in the aquarium. That's just one thing this Otto's done. He's also been seen juggling hermit crabs, also throwing rocks at the glass that surrounds his tank, and also rearranging his surroundings. He moves this rock here, this tree over here with his tentacles. That's some crazy ass stuff going on from an octopus that's starting to show signs of acknowledging things and understanding things. And whoa, Nelly, we better watch out. 2 cats have been trying to sneak into a museum in Japan for years. They have guards that do not allow the cats in. But why would these cats want to go into a museum? Prince Charles, the potential next King of England, he let squirrels into his house. His son, Prince William, said in an interview. Prince Charles lets squirrels into his house. Maybe they're talking policy. I don't know. A man steals a goat and takes the goat for a joyride on the metro. I don't know if it's the DC Metro or whatever, but there's pictures of this guy riding with a goat on the metro. We had snow here on the eastern seaboard last week. Actually, it was when? It was Thursday. It was 2 days ago. And it hit Maryland, Delaware, portions of Virginia, and Pennsylvania got hit the hardest. And then it moved out to New Jersey and upwards. A camel was spotted walking on the Pennsylvania highway during a snowstorm. I still don't know where the camel came from. I don't think they know where he came from either. It's zoo or a circus or something, but a camel was walking on the Pennsylvania highway during a snowstorm. That's kind of weird. Raccoons. We all love raccoons. Some raccoons This is in West Virginia, I think. Some raccoons were accused of being rabid, but upon further investigation, discovered that they were actually just drunk on crabapple hooch. Now, I'm not trying to be stereotypical West Virginia, but to be honest, West Virginia people, they do make a lot of hooch. And apparently, one of the best hooches you can make is crabapple ones, because there's probably lots of crab apples out there. So apparently, somewhere along the line, a bunch of raccoons discovered this still that had this crabapple hooch in it and said, hey, let's take a little bit of drink. And they drank a little too much, got a little drunk, started walking around all weird and acting strange. And sure enough, the people around them were like, oh shit, rabid raccoons. No, man, they're just drunk. Also, speaking of raccoons, there was a picture. This goes back to the story that I mentioned a while back about monkeys that are domesticating wolves in Ethiopia. Well, this is something else here, a little bit closer to home. There is a picture, and it's not one of these Photoshop whatever. This is an actual picture of a raccoon riding on a wild boar heading towards a possum that was hanging from a tree. I don't know if this was a raccoon possum war that the wild boars got involved with, but I don't know. A bad story when it comes to animals. The bumblebee has now officially been declared as endangered, which is a very scary thought, because this is no joke. If bumblebees go, we're done, because they pollinate plants. Plants feed animals and help create other stuff. And if we don't have anything that pollinates stuff, we're not going to have food. So let's try to fix this somehow. I don't know how, but they've been working on it for a while. But the bumblebee is now officially endangered. It's not the yellow jacket, not the wasp, but the bumblebee is. The first thing I guess you could say is this year, this upcoming summer coming up, try not to kill that many bumblebees. We need as many as we can to survive. Bumblebees are the big, faded yellow ones that don't really bother you. They just sort of, flying around doing this stuff. The yellow jackets are the small ones that are pains in the ass. Same with the wasps. Those are big suckers too. There was a newly discovered fish species that weighs more than a Volkswagen. This is a fish. It's not a whale, not a shark. This is a fish that weighs more than a Volkswagen. The last animal story of the day is... No, there's another one. Hold on. There's two more. First up, I've been married now 15 years. What's Patrick Smith say? Since you mentioned North Carolina is having sober patrols during the Thanksgiving weekend, please mention that AAA has a free ride home for everybody during this time. Yes, AAA will offer free ride. I'm sure there's going to be some Uber or other stuff like they did with Election Day. They'll probably have some rides home like that. Patrick Smith posted a link. It is duijusticelink.aaa.com /4-the-public. So it is a sober ride. So if you need a ride home, absolutely contact them. Or just don't drive, spend the night at your friend's house or family's house, whatever. But if you do need to have a ride home, be sure to ride home sober, and AAA will give you a ride for free. So thank you again, Patrick, for that. I've been married now for 15 years. I still remember my wedding day, but we're not going to get into that. My sister's wedding, her anniversary is November 20th. It's coming up next week. My nephew's birthday is tomorrow. He's going to be, God, is he going to be 21? Yeah, he's going to be 21 tomorrow. Hey, I need to text him and say, hey, man, you can go get drunk now, legally. So he's going to be 21. So great. So my nephew, which was my I have two nephews. My nephew Luke was my sister's first kid. He's turning 21 tomorrow. Damn, 21 years old. God, I'm getting old, man. And my sister's 25th wedding anniversary is on Tuesday, the 20th. So when you get married, you have a reception, and during the reception, you have, like a cocktail hour, and then you go into the reception and dinner and dancing and photos and stuff like that. Well, there is a new thing that's going on at weddings now, kitten hour, where you can get a bunch of kittens, I guess, from a local shelter, and you can have them brought to your wedding. And you can have a kitten hour where your guests can cuddle and play with the kittens. And hey, if you like this kitten and you enjoy this kitten, why not adopt it? It's a nice little thing to do. It gives the kittens something to look forward to, and also possible be able to find their forever home. So that's a good thing as well. The last story today has kind of got a Stephen King edge, because Stephen King sort of wrote the book about it for the most part. Mel's Hole, which is some sort of weird pit somewhere in America. It's a supernatural pit that animals have been brought back to life if they've been put into this hole, sort of similar to Pet Cemetery. So I don't know how true that is. Once again, these supernatural things is it's hard to say what's true and what isn't, but it seemed enough to be an interesting little story. Now, before I get to my Stan Lee talk real quick, a couple things. The voice of Hal from 2001, Douglas Rain, died this week as well at the age of 90. And I don't really want to mention it, but Bill Maher disses comics and Stan Lee. He's an asshole. That's all I'm going to say about that. Finally, New Zealand, when they reported Stan Lee's death, their headline read, "Spike Lee dies at age 95," with a picture of Stan. So they just had the wrong name. But Spike Lee made a comment or a response to it. It's kind of funny. So real quick, I won't take too long on this. I've been a comic book fan forever, since the early 80s. My dad got me involved in comic books because he had been collecting Amazing Spider-Man, and when I got to a certain age, he bequeathed me his Amazing Spider-Man collection, and I read them and looked at them. I mean, I was young, so it was actually my first starting to read. I looked at the pictures first and foremost, but then occasionally I would look at the words, and eventually I ended up reading them. And that's one of the ways I learned how to read, is through comic books, which don't ever let anyone tell you that comic books is not a good way to learn how to read. You do have to read comics to understand what's going on in the story. You're not just looking at the pictures. And second, it's literature. No matter what people say, comic books are literature. And then from that point on, after I read all my dad's Spider-Man comics, I learned that Spider-Man was still being printed. So whenever I got my allowance, I would go. This is back when the comic books were available at your local newsstand. We had a news center, which was like a newsstand. I would go there every week and check out the new comic books, and always look for Spider-Man ones. And there were a whole bunch of comic books, but I didn't care. I just focused on Spider-Man. So I found Spider-Man. So if Spider-Man, it was an Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, whatever, I would buy it. And if Spider-Man was on the cover of the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, whatever, I would buy that as well. And that's what got me into other comics, because I would read the Avengers or the X-Men or Fantastic Four with Spider-Man in it, and I would learn. I would either like the artwork or learn the story, like the story of that comic, and I would, then decide, hey, I want to keep reading this comic even if Spider-Man's not in it. So the one thing that is in common in all that is Stan Lee helped create all those characters. He helped create Spider-Man along with Steve Ditko. He helped create the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, along with Jack Kirby, the X-Men, along with Jack Kirby. And that's one thing I'm always going to say, is that while Stan was always the guy who was up front and everyone, looked to him as being the creator of the whole Marvel universe. And he was. He created a vast amount of it and did the stuff. He couldn't have done it without the help of his artists. Your Don Hex, your your Jack Kirby's, your Steve Ditko's, down the line a little bit more, your John Romita's, your John Romita Jr.'s, your Roy Thomas writers, and then you started getting into more things, your Gene Colan's and Greg LaRoque's and stuff like that. So you got into more of those, and after a while, Stan was still writing books, but there was a certain point somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s that he backed away from writing the books and let his new stable of writers and artists take it in their own direction. And he would still create things here and there, but he was still a presence and editor-wise and doing things well. And he was always the face of the comic book. Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko were the behind-the-scenes people. They didn't really like to have a lot of attention put on them. They just went about doing their job, stuff like that. Stan was the face of Marvel Comics. And in the end, that sort of is what kind of pissed Jack Kirby off a little bit, because Stan did get a little bit ahead of himself and declared himself, like the creator of all this stuff. And at some points did not mention his, fellow artists. Now, Stan has since, from that point on, gone back and made amends and stuff like that. And before Kirby died, he and Kirby reconciled, even though they had a tough breakup. But the fact of the matter is, Stan Lee still helped create the Marvel Universe and helped build this universe. And he's been working in comics since the 1950s. And he helped build all this stuff. He was the face of Marvel. And everybody knew who Stan Lee was. And he ended up, I think a lot of times he ended up writing the Amazing Spider-Man newspaper comic as well. And he would pop up periodically. He created the character of Speedball with Steve Ditko. And other stuff. But he was the guy. He helped create all these characters. The artists helped out in their own ways too, but it was also a lot of Stan doing it. And I don't know what else I can say that hasn't been said about Stan Lee. He was, a little bit of a cocky guy, had some issues later in life, but he was always devoted to his wife, Joan, to his family, always seemed to be, from all the stories I've read of people who were having, remembering their times with Stan and meeting Stan, he always had time for you. You wanted a picture, you wanted him to sign stuff, he would do it, no questions asked, no complaining, no, I just do it real fast. He would sit down and he'd talk to you, answer any questions you might have, but at the same time, he would move on because so many other people wanted his attention as well. But he would still focus on you, would gladly take pictures with you. There were so many celebrities, so many people, big celebrities, small celebrities, whoever, comic book royalty, stuff like that, who've gone to all these events and have seen him at different things, and they all have posted pictures of Stan, pictures with him, them and Stan. And Stan always had a smile on his face, always seemed to be happy to see his fans, and was generally doing what he loved to do. He was 95 years old. He lived a long life. It was bound to happen eventually. When you get to be in your 90s, it's only a matter of time before you start passing away. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a deep cut. Even though Stan hasn't really done anything comic book related for years, he's still going to be remembered forever as the guy who created the Marvel Universe. Again, along with the help of his artists, but Stan is the face of Marvel. And he will forever be known as that. He is, because of the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's a producer, executive producer of those. He is considered to be, and he's also executive producer of the X-Men movies as well, because he helped create them as well. he is considered to be the most successful film producer of all time because all of his films have raked in billions. When you add them all together, has raked in close, I think, $4 billion, I think is what all these movies, Marvel movies that he's had a hand in, they brought in. Rest in peace, Stan. You deserve it. Hopefully you and Joan have been reunited in heaven, and you and Jack are getting along again and drinking and smoking cigars and, reminiscing and having a good old grand time up in heaven. We'll miss you down here, but life goes on, comic books go on, and we will continue to read. And, it shows, just the class of, all these comic companies, DC, because Stan is Marvel. He did a little stint over in DC where he said, what if Stan Lee created the DC universe? And he did a whole series of stuff where he created Batman and a Superman and a Wonder Woman type and a Flash type and a Green Lantern type. And it would be like, what would his version of these characters be? They were one shots and they were actually fairly entertaining, and pretty much what you expected them to be. But DC was a class act, and they were one of the first people to praise him and give their condolences to Marvel. And, Marvel and DC, they share a lot of the same talent, but there's still always going to be that rivalry. Well, this one time the rivalry was quelled and they had a stalemate in their rivalry, and they both sat down and, drank a pint to Stan. The Bill Maher opens his big fat mouth and ruins everything and adds more flame to the fire to continue the stalemate for a while. But we're not going to talk about that because we don't want to push that anymore. So rest in peace, Stan. Do yourself a favor. Go out this weekend or this Thanksgiving weekend coming up, or if you already have some stuff, read a Marvel book. Doesn't necessarily have to be something that he wrote, but read something from Marvel. Watch an MCU movie or MCU TV show or whatever, and just, think without Stan Lee, you wouldn't be able to see this stuff. So good on that. So thank you, Stan, for all your help. This week in pop culture, I start off the show talking about Life Day. On this date, 40 years ago, November 17th, 1978, the Star Wars Holiday Special aired. I kind of remember watching it. I don't remember much about it, but I do kind of remember watching it on TV when it came on. Also, The Little Mermaid came out this week, 29 years ago. I've never been the biggest fan of The Little Mermaid. I have a lot of issues with the storyline, but I have to take a look at it. I got to push all that out of my head because I got to take a look at it, because The Little Mermaid is the movie that brought Disney back. Its animation studio, a lot of people don't remember this. This animation studio during the 80s was treading water. Yes, there were some good stuff. Black Cauldron was always good. And there were some other really good, The Rescuers, Down Under, and stuff like that. So there was really some of these smaller movies, but they were not anywhere near what you think of Disney as you now. Little Mermaid was the first cartoon in the longest time that brought about that feeling of, man, Disney's back on fire. They created the next Cinderella or Snow White when it came to Little Mermaid. And that movie started their ascent that they went into. The next year was Beauty and the Beast. The year after that, Lion King. Year after that, they had a little bit of a tumble with Hunchback of Notre Dame, but that wasn't too bad. And then gradually you get into the other aspects of it. You get a Hercules, you get a Mulan, you get Lilo and Stitch, and you start getting into these other films, and then Pixar rolls in, and then it all mixes together now. But The Little Mermaid is what started it all off and got it back on track, and it is 29 years old this week. Space Jam came out 22 years ago. They are making a sequel to that finally, but that was Michael Jordan joining forces with Bugs Bunny and the rest of the Warner Brothers cartoon characters to take on space aliens in a basketball game. So huzzah to that. Earlier in the show, I was talking about Harry Potter stuff. This week, actually on this day, 17 years ago, November 17th, 2001, the very first Harry Potter movie came out, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Dawn and I had been dating for a year at that point when this came out, and we were living together at that time. So we went to the movie theater together, and we watched the movie theater, and we absolutely loved it. And for the longest time, we watched it every Halloween when it came out on video. And because Harry Potter was such a big deal at that time, because around 2000, 2001 is when Goblet of Fire came out. That was the fourth book, and that was the one that changed it all. And that was the height of Pottermania that just continued to ascend from that point on. And so this movie comes out the same year or the year after the best book in the series, or the book in the series that changed the course of Harry Potterdom. So because of the popularity of that, and because Chris Columbus, who directed the first one, had the cast together, said, hey, you know what? We can make another one real quick, and we'll release it the next year. So on this date, 16 years ago, not necessarily on the 17th, but in this case, it would probably been the 16th or the 18th, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets came out in 2002. So literally, you had 2001, you had Sorcerer's Stone. 2002, you had Chamber of Secrets. So you got back-to-back Harry Potter movies. But Patrick, you can love Little Mermaid all you want, and I know a lot of people who love Little Mermaid. It's just the storyline and the character of Ariel, and just the whole aspect of the story is what really got me over that. Tell you what, maybe in the new year we can debate about some movies that one of us liked and the other one didn't, and we can maybe that could be a good show we can do, and Little Mermaid can be one of those, and I'll give you my my issues that I have with that. But you know what? As I said, I'm giving it credit for it creating the ascension of Disney into the animated world again, and it was a very well done film, great musical, great songs. Jodie Benson, who was the voice of Ariel, is a Marylander. And another thing I'll always remember is my friend Amy from high school, who had a lovely singing voice, and she always did our musicals. She would always warm up her voice by doing the Ariel loses her voice thing. Ah, 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 that type of thing, because it gives all the octaves up there, and it got her voice and her throat activated. So I don't like the story or certain characters in the movie because of the situations, and maybe I look at it a little too much because it's just a cartoon, obviously. But yes, I have my issues with it. So Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets came out on this date, 2002, or this week, 2002. Ernest Saves Christmas came out in 1988. That was 30 years ago. GoldenEye came out in 1995. That was the first new James Bond since Timothy Dalton did it in the 1980s. This had Pierce Brosnan's first foray as James Bond, and it had been almost, God, the last Dalton one was probably 87, 88, so it had been almost 5, 6, 7 years in between James Bond movies, which was unheard of at the time because they've been getting released at a pretty good click, or good pace. 1987, we discover The Running Man, one of the films that started Arnold Schwarzenegger on his ascension. That seems to be, excuse me, my word of the day, ascension. Based on a Stephen King book, actually, not novella, actually. So we have that. Harlem Nights, 29 years ago, Eddie Murphy's directorial debut. Not the best movie in the world, but to see Eddie Murphy teaming up with Red Fox and Richard Pryor, it could have been a whole lot better. And to see Eddie Murphy directing it, it was more of it was 1989, and it was kind of during that time, Eddie was not like the greatest, nicest guy in the world. He had this ego thing going on, and he thought he could do anything. And this movie, he thought, I'll direct it the way I want to. And this movie sort of almost killed him in his popularity, and he was able to get it back after that. Also 29 years ago, speaking of animation, Don Bluth, who used to be a Disney guy, created some of the best animated movies that weren't Disney: Secret of NIMH, Land Before Time, and All Dogs Go to Heaven. That came out 29 years ago this week as well. Speaking of animation, The Justice League Unlimited cartoon came out in 2001, 17 years ago. So considered to be part of the whole Bruce Timm, Paul Dini animated series, starting with the Batman animated series in the 1990s and the Superman animated series. This brought those two characters of Batman and Superman and those versions into a Justice League scenario and created some of the best animated stories of our time when it came to the Justice League. So that started this year, 2001, 17 years ago. Toy Story 2, the sequel to the very popular Toy Story, came out this week and 19 years ago. The one thing I remember about that movie was, okay, so that would be, 21. Yeah, my nephew, who's turning 21 tomorrow, was 2 years old when we saw this movie. My brother-in-law and sister came up one weekend. It might have even been Thanksgiving weekend, and we were all at my mom's house. And when this movie came out, we went to see it in the movie theater. And I always remember my nephew, I think he was 2 years old at that time, spending the whole movie in my brother-in-law's lap while we were watching it, and he fell asleep through the majority of it. My nephew, not my brother-in-law. So that was kind of interesting. One of my absolute favorite Christmas movies that I learned today, our friend Sesame Squirrel has never seen, Home Alone, came out this week 28 years ago. Again, this film I saw with my brother-in-law and sister. This is before he was my brother-in-law. But we actually saw it around Christmas time because this is back when it came out in 91. This was back, I think it was 91. This was back when, or 90, it might have been 90, when there was still not a lot of multiplexes in my area. So we walked in the snow from my mom's house to the 2 cinema theater we had right down the street from my mom's house, and we saw Home Alone there after Christmas. It was after Christmas, so it was still, but it's still one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Wonderfully directed by Chris Columbus, with a fantastic score by John Williams, and just a fun little story, fictional, just a lot of fun. Good Christmas movie. My last pop culture film for this week is the live action version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas that Jim Carrey starred in, Ron Howard directed. This came out 18 years ago this week. What I remember about that is a couple things. One is when I worked for the radio station, we would do premieres of these films before they came out that Friday. So like Monday or Tuesday before it came out that Friday, we would do a screening that you could only get in if you won passes through radio contests or you knew of the company that was helping sell the thing, and they would give you the passes to it. But I always did the MC duties of it. So I would come up with trivia questions, and we'd give away stuff that we got from the film company. Dawn, again, 18 years ago, that was what, 2000? No, yes, 2000 when it came out. We had just been together for about 3 or 4 months. And so she came to one of my screenings. I had an extra pass, and I wanted to see this version of the film, and she kind of wanted to see it also. So after I did my MC duties, we actually got to sit down and we got to watch the movie. And when I first saw it, I hated it. I thought it was loud, obnoxious. I thought Jim Carrey was way too hammy. And then as I got older and I started watching it more and more every year around Christmas time, something changed in me, much like it changed in The Grinch. And I began to really, really like it. And I know it's odd because I know a lot of people out there really, really hate it. And there are some problems I have with it, but I'm okay with Jim Carrey's overacting in it. I think it's freaking hilarious now. And I found the set design that Ron Howard and his crew did was amazing, and a great James Horner score as well. And just absolutely a wonderful performance by Jim Carrey. Absolutely supposed to be ham worthy. And he does it but there were just certain things that when I first saw it, I hated because it didn't make a lot of sense. But gradually, as I got older and was watching it was just like, this is actually really, really funny. And so I still try to watch it at least once a year around Christmas time. either be it on the Freeform Christmas 24 Days of Christmas or whatever, or something else. TNT sometimes does it as well. Or I have my own copy of it. I'll pop it in one day and I'll watch that. So there is that. So all we got left now is holidays, and then I'm out of here. So holidays. Every day is a holiday. We have a big real holiday next week with Thanksgiving. But every day is literally a holiday. And they might not always be ones that we know about, but this is today, November 17th holidays. It's Electronic Greeting Card Day, Family Volunteers Day, Homemade Bread Day, International Games Day, International Students Day, National Adoption Day, National Baklava Day, National Farm Joke Day, National Survivors of Suicide Day, National Take a Hike Day, National Unfriend Day, Little Mermaid Day is today, obviously, World Peace Day, World Prematurity Day. It is also Life Day in the Star Wars world. Yesterday, December 16th, was Have a Party with Your Bear, International Day for Tolerance, International Stand Up to Bullying Day, National Button Day, National Fast Food Day. November 15th, we had America Recycles Day, American Enterprise Day, Days of the Imprisoned Writer George Spelvin Day. Great American Smokeout was November 15th. Also, I Love to Write Day was November 15th, International Guinness World Records Day, Little Red Wagon Day, National Bunt Day, National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day, National Philanthropy Day, National Raisin Bran Day was the 15th, National Spicy Hermit Cookie Day, Nouveau Beaujolais Day was the 15th, Pack Your Mom's Lunch Day is the 15th, Steve Irwin Day was the 15th also, Use Less Stuff Day, World Pancreatic Cancer Day, and World Philosophy Day. Now, tomorrow, the 18th of November, we have Married to a Scorpio Support Day. Mickey Mouse Day is tomorrow. I think that might be his 90th anniversary then. Mother Goose Parade Day, National Princess Day, National Vichyssoise Day, Occult Day, Push Button Phone Day, William Tell Day, and World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. So if you want more holidays and see what's going on, go check out Check I Day. You can catch it on Twitter at Check I Day, or they have a website, Check I Day, that'll give you all the holidays. If you go to the Twitter handle at Check I Day at Check CHECKIDAY, if you click on the tweet and you click on the the link they have there, it'll take you to their page and it'll tell you how you can celebrate the day and some stuff like that. So some interesting stuff here like that. And that's it for this week's episode of Dylan Knows. Thanks to Patrick and MJ for watching. I actually, at one point, I had about 4 or 5 viewers. So, hey, whoever those guys were, thank you for watching as well. Next week is Thanksgiving. Obviously, when I do my show again, Thanksgiving will be over and it'll be officially the Christmas season. So we'll start getting into that kind of stuff. I don't know how much we're going to get, how much of a show we'll have next week because, we only have 3 days of work and then it's Thanksgiving. So we'll see what the world can get into over those next few days, including tomorrow, also Sunday. We'll see what's coming up with that. So that being said, I want you all out there to have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be safe, as Patrick pointed out when I talked about earlier in the show. If you have a little bit too much to drink on Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving, which is the biggest drinking day of the year, AAA will have a free ride home that you can get to their link. Let me see if I can read the link that Patrick gave again. DUIJusticeLink.aaa.com /4-the-public. So click on that link if you need a ride. Be careful. You drink, you drive, you die is not just a catchphrase. It can actually happen, or you could actually kill somebody who is not drinking. So please, for the love of God, if you are drunk, get a designated driver who is not. take a ride with AAA, call an Uber, Lyft, whatever you want to take, or just spend the night at your friend's house, your family's house, whatever. Your family will probably gladly put you up for the night. It is, after all, the holidays. That being said, I want you all to have a wonderful Thanksgiving. A truly blessed one. Just got to get through 3 days at work. We got one more day of the weekend coming up tomorrow, and we're going to be taking Sesame Squirrel actually to Valley View, which is a great Christmas shop, and we'll do a little early Christmas shopping there. Dylan knows will be on sometime during Thanksgiving weekend. Don't know exactly when it'll be yet. Maybe next Saturday, might be Sunday, might be Friday, for all I know. But we'll see. And also my other show, The Comic Hall. Comics are still going to come out on Wednesday, the 20th. There actually is. Let me. Can I get into these real quick? There are going to be some really interesting books coming out. Previews, comics, magazine. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter right now. But there are going to be some interesting comics that are coming out. So come watch my show, The Comic Hall, to see what comics are coming out next week, and enjoy those and see those. So again, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thanks everybody for watching. At this time next week, I should have my Christmas stuff up, and it is officially the Christmas season as we wrap up November and look to 2019. Thanks, guys. Take care. Safe trips. Be safe. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Overeat if you need to, but don't over imbibe in alcohol, and cheer for your favorite football teams if you are into that kind of stuff. Go Ravens.